Hi everyone. Welcome to today's episode where we explore how English can completely reshape someone's life, not talking only personally, but professionally, socially, and even emotionally. I'm your host, I'm Laura, and today I'm joined by my friend Alejandro, who lives in Florencia, which is the capital of in a place in Colombia, but works remotely for a company based in Texas. Alejandro, thank you for being here first. And I know English has played a massive role in your journey, so I want to start by going back to the beginning. Before the remote job, before the meetings in English, before the Texas coworkers, how did English first enter in your life in a meaningful way? What was your honest relationship with the language back then?
Hey Laura, good afternoon, good morning, or good evening for everybody. About English in my first stage, let's say. Well, I think I have been surrounded by English for my entire life because as far as I remember, since I was a child, my mom was always worried about that their kids learn a new language. I remember that when I lived in another town which is called Belen. Um, we had an English teacher, and we had a new book to study English, and that book was animated. You were starting to learn things like colors, numbers, greetings. So I would say that I was kind of 7 years old when I have my first contact with English, and after that, when we moved to Florencia, um, as I told you, my mom was always worried about that, and she wanted us to do something in the afternoon. So she get us into the courses, English courses in the afternoons or even in the weekends, and in that way was but I was taking that contact with English, and after that we were interesting on that, and my brother and I tried to speak English in the afternoons just for fun. And at the end I would say that, well, when I was trying to look for a career, for a degree, something to study with, well, we decided to study English because through my life, we realized that I was not that bad. I was pretty good for English. So I would say that those were my first contacts
Wow,
with
that's
the
so
language.
relatable. That's yeah, I'm glad to hear that because so many of us take English like very seriously when life forces to. And I imagine that for you, like there was a moment when things suddenly like clicked. This moment when English went from optional to this could change my whole future. So, taking also all that you told to me, was there a specific situation? I don't know, maybe a job application, an interview, an opportunity that made you realize English wasn't just a skill that you acquire when you were a child, but it was like a key that will open real doors for you.
I would say yes, not only for this kind of remote work or job, because yeah, I remember also that when I got my English degree, the first opportunity I had to to work with that was particularly as teacher. I was working as a teacher in let's say Saturdays schools, that kind of schools in which you work just on Saturdays. And after that, in here in my region, there was a project for English that was in 20 2019. and I had the opportunity also to work with English in my hometown, which is Belen, as I told you. And of course, and it was important, to be part of that project, to be to know English was essential, was the most important thing, because we were going to teach English for not only for students, not only for children or guys. It was also to reinforce the English knowledge for teachers. And after then, well, I knew this, and I would say that this was because of my wife. She told me that there was an opportunity to work in in this kind of work, in this kind of remote works, and it was fine. It was fine because particularly, well, as you said, this open doors because you know to be in this work is important to know English because it this requires too many contact with native person from USA, even if you have to call or or text, sorry, and that permanent contact is important. And in the role that I have, well, it is essential because I have to read every time, I have to correct, I have to speak. And yes, I would say that it's important. I would say that English could open doors because I have seen how my wife have changed at least 3 times the work just because she knows English, you know? So I think this is very important.
Yeah, I really love that. And I really love your experience about teaching. I didn't know that, so that will be so meaningful. I think it's powerful when one, I don't know, it could be anything, like one interview or one job or one opportunity changes your entire trajectory. And I'm sorry, and that brings me to something I've always wanted to ask you, talking more about your identity and your personal life. I've noticed that people who speaks more than one language almost develop different versions of themselves depending on the language that they are speaking. And you're someone who switches between English and Spanish constantly. So, do you feel like you become like a different Alejandro when you speak English? Maybe, I don't know, you change your personality, your confidence, your tone. What changes for you?
I would say that pretty things change because when I speak English, I would say that I can sound more polite, more educated than when I speak my first language, which is Spanish. Um, I wouldn't say that I feel more confident, but I feel comfortable. You know, I try to be, as I told you, educated, particularly when I have to talk with my bosses, for example. It requires a very polite language. Mm, and a thing that I would say that it's pretty fun is the fact in which you are very involved in the language that in a moment you forget some words in your first language because you switch and unconsciously you said it in English. I have remarked a really not a particular word, which is, for example, for performance. Many times I forget, sorry, how to say performance in Spanish. So I just say I'm talking Spanish, and I just from out of nowhere I just say performance, and people is like, what do you mean? You know, that happens sometimes, but I don't used to switch too much the languages. Just when I forgot the words, I don't know why that happens. But I would say yes. I feel comfortable. I feel fine when I speak English, and and that's it. I think.
Yeah, I've seen that, I've seen that because we used to work together. So I don't know that even I don't know, the rhythm of your voice changes a little bit. It's like your brain runs on a different frequency, you know. And I know English has shaped your habits too, and mine as well. So, are there any hobbies, any routines, or any interest that you only discover because you speak English?
Can you repeat please the question, Laura? Okay,
Sure.
I couldn't hear right.
Sure. Are there hobbies or any routine that you have or any interest that you discovered because you speak English?
Well, previously I would say no. That nowadays I think that that changes. Um, or that have changed because the only thing I did in English was just to listen to music. You know, because I like to listen rock, for example, and I think the best rock is the rock in English. And I was trying to understand what the lyrics says and things like those. But hobbies in English, I didn't have too much. Nowadays, I would say it has changed because, for example, I was not a person who likes to watch series, and after I meet my wife, she loved series, and fortunately, I would say she watches it in their original language, which is usually English, and that has been become in a hobby for us. You know, in the evenings, we just turn on the TV and watch a series in English, which is great because I think in that way, uh, my vocabulary increases or I try to guess what they are saying without reading the subtitles. Also for video games because I have an alternate job in which I have to interact with people from Asia, particularly, but we would say that the lingua franca nowadays is the English. So the way we communicate with them is talking in English. And I would say that those are my hobbies. The others, I would say no, because I I am a man who like to practice sports, but mm, my context is not surrounded by English, so I don't have or I don't need to use it in the others activities I do.
Yeah, I got it. I got it. And I love that. You know, it's like English opened like different worlds for us. These words that we wouldn't have access to otherwise. And that takes me to something deeper. Beyond that career, beyond money, beyond the hobbies that you mentioned, what's the most meaningful personal benefit that English has given to you?
The most meaningful, I would say, is as I told you, to increase the vocabulary, to know more words, to know new ways to say the things, and also to to improve uh, some skills like listening. It's very important when I do this kind of activities.
Yeah, great. That reminds me of how English like doesn't just shape your private life, but also shapes your social world. You interact with people from all over the world. For example, in your job, you have to contact some people in the US, and you also told me that about your hobbies that you talk a lot with people from Asia. And that only happens because of English. So has English helped you to build friendships or connections with people from other cultures? Any story that you want to stand out?
I would say it could be. I wouldn't say friends because I don't know them personally, but it's fine because that's an opportunity to have contact with them. You know, to interact with the people. Uh, Fortunately, I have the opportunity to interact with people from Texas, from USA, from India, from Arabia, uh, United Emirates, from Brazil, even Brazil, and it's fine. As I told you, I wouldn't say that they are really friends because I don't know them, but it's fine because this is a way to know more people, to know another cultures, to know another accents, even because it's too different listening at people from listening people sorry from Texas than listening people from India because it's pretty hard to understand them, but that is very very nice to have that opportunity to have contact with other cultures is great.
Yeah, now that you mention, it came to my mind. Have you ever felt like misunderstood or even judged because of your accent when speaking English?
I wouldn't say uh, misunderstood, but I would say frustrated is better because you're trying to talk sorry with another person, and sometimes that person doesn't understand what you said, and it's frustrating because you're trying to do your best. You're trying to do your best to communicate, to say something, and sometimes or maybe they don't understand or even you don't understand what they say. mm, yes, this is not about misunderstood. This is about my feelings. mm, but well, doesn't matter, so sometimes you just have to look for a strategy to try to communicate or to try to understand what they say, trying to listen some keywords that would help to understand maybe the great message that they wanted to tell you, or for you also to try to be practice in the way you want to talk or when you want to ask for something.
Yeah, right. Communications goes both ways, so I think that's a very good strategy. And speaking of Texans, what cultural differences have you noticed when you are communicating with these Americans, especially Texans? So they're like extremely direct. They didn't like these small talks, and I don't know, anything you had to adapt to talk with them?
uh, uh, First of all, I would say that talking with people from Texas is good. Sometimes it's pretty pretty hard to understand because they sometimes talk pretty fast, and that's hard to understand. Uh, yes, we would say that they are direct with the things they want, but that's good. I don't see a problem with that. That's perfect for me. Uh, but well, because this is from a moment to another, so this is just in a moment you are quiet in your safe in your computer just working, and from any moment you got a call, and in that moment you have to switch quickly. I would say that's the the hardest part of this. But not the communication with them. I think it's good. Yes, as you said, it's direct, but no, nothing particularly with them. Really.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. Now I want to talk more about like your professional life, like your professional daily life. So, I would like to ask you I'm sorry, what does your daily routine look like now that you're working like fully in English?
Good. I would say before just to try before English. mm, just let's say presential work. So it's too hard to find a remote job if you do know English, of course. Because I have many friends that constantly ask me that they wanted to work in something like this, but they can't because they don't speak English. Um, just local jobs, as I told you, working in a Saturday schools and in a project which was presential in a town in here. But after that, I it's great because even well, not just for this job, not just for the job in which I am nowadays, or for remote work. I would say, for example, I'm teaching a person English, and I do it also just by conference, internet conference. So it depends the way you want to use it or you manage it. Because I would say that it's better and to know English. Well, as we told before, opens door many doors, and I think that that the opportunities are better. Usually the payment is good. I would say it's pretty good than working in presential jobs.
Yeah, I know those are like life-changing things. But I also know that it's not just like an easy job. For example, I would like to ask you if do you ever feel like burned out from using English all day long? Like you see English, I don't know, like in meetings, mails, in I don't know, maybe the apps that you use in your work. So do you ever feel like this, like I don't know, I don't want to know more about English in your day?
No, 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 that doesn't happen. In fact, I try to be involved for well, involved by English. You know, my browsers, for example, are entirely in English. All the things I read, I try that they are in English. My meetings, my mails. Uh, I could show you my mails, and all of them are in English. I have to yes receive some requests, and they are all in English, and I have to read all those papers. That's pretty tiring, but it's good. The documentation I have to read, the things I have to study, many of them are in English. So I feel good, and I think that's good for me because it's give me the feeling that I'm learning all the time, all days,
Yeah,
and every day.
well, I'm glad to hear that because sometimes I feel like that we're like a mental load behind bilingual work, and beyond that exhaustion, there's a bigger issue. So, I don't know. We're going to talk now about more than your future and your dreams. So. Looking ahead, what long-term opportunities has English made possible for you? Do you have like any future goal related to English?
Unfortunately, in our country, English is not that important. You know, this is not about how much you know about English, and this is about how many studies do you have in an in a field of knowledge. An example, it's different just to be a teacher in here for better opportunities, just to be a teacher than being a master teacher. Let's say if you're just a teacher, uh, your salary could be good, but it's not the best. But if you have, for example, a master, well, that salary is going to be too much better. At least in Colombian, mm, a million and a half better. So I think in that way, English is not that uh, differential or important. But in terms of remote jobs, I would say that's totally different because it depends in the way or in the company you look for the job because there are too many companies needing workers from everywhere, and if you look for the right place, you would you would find a better opportunity.
Yeah, I agree like completely with you about this inequality that exists in Colombia, talking about English. And that's why your story matters, because it shows what it's possible when people do get access to this knowledge, for example. So, I don't know. I'm now let's imagine like the opposite. If you had never learned English, how different would your life look today? What do you think?
I don't know. First of all, if I were here, for example, I don't know if uh, I will have this job. I maybe well before I got my English degree, I was or I got a degree that something is called, I would say it in Spanish, which is Programa de Formación Complementaria. This is a particular program that the schools called Normal Superior give for the students that wanted to be teacher. So you just have to study 2 years more, and you have a degree to teach, but for children, not for secondary students, just for primary students and kindergarten students. And I would say that that was what I was doing if I uh, wouldn't speak English.
Yeah, I really like your
Just
story, and
yeah,
I'm
just
sorry.
working as a teacher, just working as a teacher for children. So, but of course, I wouldn't have these opportunities. This all this all that I have nowadays. I would say that is because I know something about English, and that's it.
Yeah, that's like the real impact. English didn't just open a door or many doors. It changes like the entire direction of our lives. So, yeah, Alejo, thank you for sharing everything. Your story shows that English is not just grammar and all of that we learn back at school. It's about opportunities, identity, and most of all, transformation. So, thank you for sharing again your story with us. And I don't know, we came here as we were getting like another point of view about how English can transform our lives. So thank you for watching, and that will be all. Thank you.
Okay, Laura, thank you for the invitation. I hope to see you later. So, and nowhere else. Thank you.
Bye, Alejo.